10 seconds left on the clock. My hand is shaking. A stranger's bid slip is sitting on the table in front of me, ink still wet, and I am about to steal it. Not the money, not the item, the paper. Because 30 minutes earlier, a man who thought he owned this entire charity auction looked me dead in the eye and said, "You can bid, but I'll just outbid you." He had 3 people working the room for him. I had nothing but a $50 budget and a grudge. Guess who went home with the trophy dot? If you've ever been talked down to by someone who thought their money, their status, or their little army of yes men made them untouchable, this one's for you. This isn't a story about violence or lawsuits or burning down someone's career. It's smaller than that, and honestly, that's what makes it so satisfying. It's about a woman with $50 and one good idea beating a man with an entire operation. Stick around, because the last 10 seconds of this story are chef's kiss. Smash that like button, subscribe if you love a good petty but earned payback story, and let's get into it. The setup. Picture a banquet hall. Round tables draped in white cloth, string lights zigzagging across the ceiling, the low roar of 40 different conversations happening at once. Somewhere near the bar, a string quartet is losing a battle against someone's uncle laughing too loud at his own joke. This is a charity auction, the good kind, the kind that exists inside a small, tight-knit community. Everyone here shares one very specific, very niche hobby. Think of it like a family reunion, except the family is bonded by an obsession most outsiders wouldn't even understand. That's important, because in a world this small, everybody knows everybody. Reputations aren't built over years. They're built over nights like this one. 2 auctions are running side by side. A live auction, up on a small stage, where an auctioneer barks out numbers to a room half drunk on rosé and generosity. And a silent auction. Dozens of tables lining the walls of the hall, each one holding a different item, a clipboard, and a bid sheet. You walk up, you write your number, you walk away hoping nobody outbids you before the night ends. I'd been circling one table all evening. A home decor piece themed around our little community's aesthetic. The kind of thing that doesn't exist in stores, the kind of thing you'd only ever find here, made by someone here, for people who understand exactly why it's special. I wanted it, not desperately, just genuinely. The way you want something that would look perfect in your house and nowhere else. Enter Steve. Now let me introduce you to Steve. Steve is one of those guys every niche community has. He's not famous exactly, but he's known. The kind of guy who walks into a room and 3 people immediately turn to say hello. Big personality, bigger wallet, and, as I was about to learn, an ego that needed feeding almost as much as his enthusiasm for winning. All night, Steve's name had been popping up on bid sheet after bid sheet. Not because he wanted every item, because he could afford to touch every item, nudging the price up by exactly $1 at a time, just enough to keep his name on top, just enough to make sure nobody forgot he was playing. The tables spanned the entire hall. One person cannot physically stand at 15 tables simultaneously. So I was mildly confused and increasingly annoyed, watching his name appear on sheet after sheet like some kind of omnipresent auction ghost. Then I found out why. The confrontation. I walked up to my table, the decor piece, the one I'd been eyeing all night, ready to bump my bid. And standing in front of it was a woman I didn't recognize, with Steve parked right next to her like a bodyguard outside a nightclub. She'd just written a new number. Her hands were flat on the table, planted on either side of the sheet, like she was daring anyone to get close enough to read it. I want you to picture that for a second. Not browsing the table, not chatting nearby, guarding it. Hands down, shoulders squared, blocking the clipboard like it was the last vaccine on Earth. I laughed it off, genuinely, at first. That's the tone of these events, remember? Jovial. Loud. Nobody's supposed to actually be upset about a decor piece at a charity fundraiser. So I said something light, something like, "Wow, you really want this thing, huh?" Honestly, at this point, if I see Steve's name on something, I should just give up. And Steve, not the woman, Steve, answered for her. "Yeah," he said, with this little smirk creeping into his voice. "I've got 3 people out there working the tables for me. Let that sink in. 3 people." Planted at different tables around the room, bidding on his behalf in real time, so he could dominate an auction he wasn't even physically present at half the time. In most of these charity events, that's not a gray area. That's flat out against the rules. Bidding is supposed to be you, your name, your money, your decision, made in the moment, not a coordinated relay team executing a strategy. But here's the thing about being a nobody in somebody else's world. You feel the injustice, and you also feel the powerlessness. I wasn't about to march up to event staff and report a socialite for auction fraud over a decorative wall hanging. So I did what a lot of us do when we swallow something unfair. I made a joke of it, tested the water, half hoping he'd back off. Should I even bother bidding anymore? I asked. And this is the line. This is the line that changed everything. Steve looked at me, not with anger, not even really with malice, just with this bored, condescending certainty, and said, "You can, but I'll just outbid you." I want you to notice what he didn't say. He didn't say, "May the best bid win." He didn't say, "Good luck." He said, essentially, "The outcome is already decided, and you're wasting your time thinking otherwise." That specific flavor of dismissiveness, where someone doesn't even feel the need to compete with you, just manage you. That's the kind of thing that sits in your chest for the rest of the night. I smiled, said something like, "Guess it's yours then," and walked away. But I didn't forget it, not for 1 second. The slow burn. For the next hour, I did what anyone does when they've been quietly humiliated at a party. I kept having a good time, laughing with friends, sipping my drink, pretending the whole thing hadn't gotten under my skin. But every so often, my eyes would drift back toward that table, toward Steve's name, sitting there, smug and permanent, like a flag planted on a mountain he didn't even climb himself. Here's what I want you to understand about that feeling. It's not really about the object anymore at that point. It's about being told, explicitly, to your face, that the rules don't apply the same way to you as they do to someone with more money and more foot soldiers. It's the auction version of someone cutting the entire line and daring you to say something. So somewhere in that hour, without any dramatic music swelling in my head, without any grand plan forming, I just quietly decided, fine. If he wants to play a numbers game, I can't win that. But numbers aren't the only game on the table, the turning point. The auctioneer's voice cracked through the microphone. Final 60 seconds on the silent auction, folks. Get your last bids in. That's when I looked up, scanned the room out of habit, and realized Steve wasn't at the table. His guard dog wasn't there either. For the first time all night, that little patch of banquet hall real estate was undefended. My heart did this ridiculous little jump, the kind of adrenaline spike you're almost embarrassed to admit you felt over a raffle item. I moved fast, not running, but fast. That speed walk you do at events when you don't want to look like you're panicking, but absolutely are. I got to the table, pen in hand, and started writing my new bid. And then a woman standing near the table, a different woman, not the original guard, reached over and wrote a new number right below mine before my ink had even dried. I recognized the pattern instantly. "Oh," I said, part laugh, part sigh. "Let me guess, you're bidding for Steve too?" She winced. Actually winced. "Yeah," she admitted, and I want to be clear. She looked genuinely uncomfortable. Not smug like Steve, almost apologetic, like she knew exactly how this looked and didn't love being the instrument of it. Here's a small detail that matters. I wasn't angry at her. She wasn't the one who looked me in the eye and told me the game was rigged in his favor. She was just someone doing a favor for a guy with a big personality and a bigger checkbook. So instead of getting cold with her, I got curious. "Do you have a top bid he gave you?" I asked. "Like a number you're capped at?" "No," she said. "He just told me to make sure I win it. Make sure I win it. Not bid up to X, not use your judgment. Just win, no matter what." That's not a bidding strategy. That's a blank check handed to a soldier with orders to hold the position at any cost. The auctioneer's voice sliced through the noise again. 10 seconds! The woman finished writing Steve's new number. She set the pen down. She set the bid sheet down on the table. Flat, final, done. The way you'd set down a winning hand of cards. 9, 8. And in that half second where the paper sat there, unclaimed, unguarded, between her hand and mine, I grabbed it. Not to tear it up, not to hide it. I grabbed the sheet, planted it in front of me, and scrawled my new number on the next line in the 2, maybe 3 seconds I had left. 3, 2, 1. Time! The auctioneer's gavel came down somewhere across the room. The silent auction was closed. Bids were final. I don't even fully remember deciding to do it. My 50-year-old arms just shot straight up in the air like I'd won an Olympic medal, and I let out a woo H-O-O-O-O-O, loud enough that at least 3 tables turned to look at me. I wasn't embarrassed. I didn't care. For one glorious second, I was not a nobody in Steve's world. I was the person who beat his system using his own tools. Speed, timing, and being in the right place while he was busy being everywhere except the one place that mattered. I never even saw Steve's face when he found out. That's honestly part of what makes this so satisfying. I didn't need his shock, his outrage, his condescension crumbling in real time to feel like I'd won. The win was already complete the moment that gavel came down. Somewhere across that banquet hall, a man who told me, "I'll just outbid you," was about to discover that his 3-person bidding army had a blind spot. Me. The woman who'd been holding his bid sheet just sort of laughed, shook her head, and said something like, "Well played." No hard feelings between us. She knew exactly what had just happened. And honestly, I think some small part of her enjoyed watching Steve's perfect system get outmaneuvered by one determined woman with decent hand speed and zero shame about celebrating in public. Here's the thing about petty little victories like this one. They're not really about the item. I could have lost that auction and been totally fine. What made it worth remembering is this. Steve had money, status, and a small team working on his behalf, and he still assumed that was enough to guarantee an outcome. He forgot that confidence isn't the same as control. Systems have blind spots. Even rigged games have a window where the rules briefly, beautifully favor whoever's paying attention. If this story gave you even a little bit of that yes-s feeling in your chest, do me a favor and smash that like button. It genuinely helps this channel keep telling stories like this one. And I want to hear from you. What's the smallest, pettiest, most satisfying win you've ever pulled off against someone who underestimated you? Drop it in the comments, because I guarantee some of you have stories even better than this one. Subscribe for more real, ridiculous, deeply human revenge stories, and I'll see you in the next one.